Hi there, welcome back. Well, we're tapering off. We're getting towards the last few chapters. Today's video, we'll do 2 chapters, and then our next video will be the last 2 chapters of the book. So we're starting to wind down. Anybody that's new here, my name is Jill. On my channel, I am reading my book, which is my memoir. It's called Free Will. So please click on my channel below and check out all the videos. You can go to the very beginning and start from scratch and get the whole book. My book is also available to purchase. You can find that in the description or anywhere on in my channel. Okay, so the last chapters that we covered, we were kind of talking about some of the ways that I was kind of, in a way, imploding and having some really bad things happen after my life changed so much between leaving the church and divorce and moving and everything. And then how when I finally ended up way up north at the tippy top of Oregon, up in Astoria, how I got inspired to start writing my book, and how that creative outlet was just so meaningful to me, and really kind of shifted my perspective on everything. So we're going to pick up in chapter 49, and we'll go from there. Thank you for coming back, as always. Throughout my journey of learning to trust myself and learning how to blaze my own trail, I have experienced much that could make me a believer. In my Sixth Sense class back in California, I learned to read oracle cards, auras, and energy. I learned how to channel and have done so beautifully and miraculously. I have witnessed seeing spirit guides, angels with my own eyes. These weren't just one-time events, but very frequent. I had these experiences in my class, but it soon became a regular part of life outside of the walls of that classroom. The first time I had an experience like this outside of class was one of the coolest. Cool in part because I wasn't expecting it or trying. Way back when I was first opening my mind to all of this metaphysical stuff, my cousin from Minnesota had come out to California to visit me. As we sat in the great room of our San Clemente house, my cousin sat next to me. My cousin sat next to my husband on the big modern gray sectional, and I sat on the other end of the L of the sectional, facing in their direction. We sat and talked and laughed as we were getting ready to go to lunch down at Fisherman's on the pier, when something caught my eye. My attention and my eyes shifted to the kitchen area. There, as clear as day and as big as life, stood 2 Native Americans dressed in traditional garb. It was a man and a woman. These spirit forms were very large and seemed to be floating near the island in the middle of the room. Am I freaking you guys out yet? Okay. This was more clear and vivid than anything I had ever visioned in my class. Seeing them took my breath away. I didn't say a word to my husband or my cousin. I was sure it would have totally freaked them out, and I didn't want them to think I was going off the deep end. But it was so real and it was so intense. I felt no fear at all. What I felt was a sense of peace. Whoever these spirits or energies were, they were only there for good. I could sense that and felt confident in the fact that they meant no harm, and that I was privileged to be able to see them. I could not stop grinning the whole day after having this happen, and I couldn't wait to share it next Monday at my intuitive class, where it would be well received. Not too long after that event is when I started seeing my therapist. I went to her after having left the church and starting the divorce process. I found her when I was looking for a therapist for my kids to talk to. I knew that they were processing so much and wanted them to be able to vent in a healthy way to someone who could help. But both the kids begged me not to have to go, so I ended up going by myself. Within my first session, I had told Gabby that I was formerly a Jehovah's Witness and that my kids and I were reeling from the massive losses we had been experiencing. To my shock and bemusement, she told me that she too was formerly a Jehovah's Witness. This was another magical serendipity that made me incredibly grateful. There was a shorthand of explaining the kinds of pain and confusion we were experiencing that made it so easy to talk to Gabby. She understood all too well because she had experienced it firsthand. In that first therapy session and in successive ones, I once again suddenly was seeing spirit energy without trying to or expecting to. This was very similar to what I had seen in my class. I can only describe them as ghostly white transparent beings floating next to Gabby. I had started to become accustomed to these experiences, but it was still so distracting that I was having a hard time articulating my thoughts and feelings in this session. One of these spirits, if you will, was a female-like energy that I believe to be one of my spirit guides. I say this because I have seen her in many different places at many different times. She seems to always be with me. I was so distracted that I had to be up front and told Gabby what was happening. Sorry. I thought, being a former JW, that this might freak her out. But no, she took it in stride and told me my spiritual exploration was good and healthy for me. I mentally asked my spirit guides not to distract me so that I could concentrate. They abided. We proceeded with our session, having beneficial and constructive results. These are not stories that I have chosen to share with many people until now, because many people think you're a woo-woo kook when you talk about such things. But I am moved to share them for a number of reasons. These magical, mystical experiences were amazing and mind-blowing as they occurred. But very quickly and often, these experiences can and do fade to a distant memory. As they fade, I sometimes question how real they were. But then I will again have some amazing encounter that once again confirms for me there is more than meets the everyday eye. I believe when we are prepared to handle digesting such esoteric experiences, that they are brought to us or opened up to us in a more tangible way. I believe that I have been privy to such things as I've opened my mind with wonder and abandon. I tell these stories to share the magic and wonder, but never to convince anyone of what I have experienced. I do not expect or need anyone, even those closest to me, to believe or accept the same things. I myself grapple with what these experiences truly are and wonder at their source or dimension, but only knowing they are good and positive because I am filled with love, light, and peace when consciously, spiritually, or physically aware of them. So I would never expect someone else outside my metaphysical tribe to necessarily buy into what I'm telling them. It is far too much to ask that others believe me. And that's okay. I am living my own truth. I am not a follower anymore, and I do not wish to have followers. But this is my path, and it is filled with what feels true to me. Again, the word that is perfect is resonates. When something resonates with me, I feel deep within me congruence with what and who I am. There does not necessarily have to be proof of anything if it resoundingly vibrates within me for me to be open to it. As I've stated, it seems to me that we come from a source, whether by creation or evolving development. We are of that source. It is a part of our makeup. So it makes sense to me that with that origin, that creative or evolutionary source, we have within us the resource to recognize truth, our truth. And it seems that the more we let go of letting others shape our sense of reality, the more we think and feel for ourselves, shaking off the dogma, the precepts of society, religion, and even of parents and family, the more sharply and easily we tune in to our own truth. I do not fear what people think. At least I try not to. Pleasing anyone with my belief or non-belief, as the case may be, is no longer something that matters to me. Although it is a muscle that I have to exercise because of the lifelong custom of caring unceasingly about what others think. It had become crystal clear that people-pleasing was another hard-set pattern in my life that was slowly becoming loosed from my grip. I was coming to understand that to kindly and thoughtfully do things that pleased others is beautiful and important. But now with the understanding that I couldn't adjust my actions and change my course in life in order to please or for fear of disappointing others. There's no greater pleasure in life than to do something that gives others joy and pleasure, to make someone laugh or smile. But if doing so makes you compromise your integrity, makes you change who you are, you've gone too far. I never want to find myself ignoring my intuition, my calling. I want to be true to my own spirit. Here in Astoria, I have come to trust myself even more completely. I have stepped into the courage to write my truths, no matter what others think. I am so appreciative of the time I've spent here. I learn more every day what matters, what is true, and how to have peace with my indispensable freedom. The state motto of Oregon is Alice, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that, it's French. Alice vola propli, sorry that I butchered that, which translates, she flies with her own wings. Serendipity. I had come to Oregon to learn how to fly with my own wings. So, kind of a crazy thought to think about somebody that, and I know I'm not the only one, that leaves such a fundamentalist Christian, religion, and one that is so freaked out on anything that's mystical or magical. Although, funny enough, a lot of those beliefs seem pretty mystical and magical. But anyway, diving into that was so much fun for me. It just shifted my perspective, and it was just something that really resonated with me. So it's definitely a part of who I am, between meditation and having connection with something that is beyond here, which I really don't want to define, because it kind of, my perspective of that kind of shifts all the time, which I'm totally fine with. Like I said in the last video, I don't need to have the answers. It's okay to keep wondering and exploring. It's fun. That's kind of part of life, right? So let's read chapter 50. When I stopped attending JW Church, I read a quote that gave me such fortitude in walking my own path. The quote seems to have been erroneously credited to the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, but apparently it was something linked to one of his writings because of a similar message. I cannot find the origin of these words, but they resonate with me loud and clear. Live a good life. If there are gods, and they are just, they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you you will be gone, but you will have lived a noble life and will live on in the memories of your loved ones. Once you take out of the equation that there is a God exacting tedious and querulous adoration and worship, then you are free to be as good as you are. I believe I was born good. I believe I knew all along how to be, how to live, and how to love. The idea that God is a demanding being who created me only to praise Him does not resonate with me. Just imagine such a divine being, a single entity, a God of supreme intelligence and unsurpassed love, and then imagine Him deciding to create a world of humans on this beautiful planet. Then, in all His wisdom and love, He makes the demand that all of His creation must bow down to Him, must praise and honor Him, worship Him, and even fear Him. They must find the right book, a book written or inspired by Him, sort out its mysteries, make sure they have the right translation, and devote themselves to the right religion and follow all the rules. This makes no sense to me. Why would such a powerful and loving God need to be worshipped? This idea turns God into an egocentric, needy being, which is not logical to me. I believe the source of life is love. I believe that I was created from that love, that we all were. I believe that love is unconditional, that it is not judgmental. Judgment and harsh demands are human developments, and I believe that as we evolve as a species, we will drop this unkind, unloving paradigm and will develop the all-inclusive, unconditional love that is true to our source. This belief puts every human in line for divine approval. Instead of dividing peoples, nations, religions, and families, it allows and welcomes all in warm embrace. I therefore am free to live and breathe as I was born to do. I have spoken my truth. I have lived honestly. I have paid high prices for this. But as much as I believe in love, I believe it was right and good for me to live honestly. I have had many moments of doubt when in pain, when seeing my children in pain over what my choices have brought upon them. I have angrily growled at the powers that be, that if I lived truthfully and honestly, why isn't everything better? But no matter what, when I boil it down, the incredibly courageous changes I have made in my recent life, I know absolutely that I have done the right thing. I also think I've done things in a compassionate and respectful way, with an open and loving heart. I don't do everything perfectly, and I don't have any doubt that I have made many mistakes along the way. But where it counts, I listen to my highest authority. I listen to me. This is my hardest understood lesson in life. Life or God or the powers that be do not punish me. When life goes badly, it is not because I'm being punished. Many religious disciplines ingrain in us that sense of when we do good, we are rewarded. When we mess up, we are punished. Yes, to a point, we reap what we sow. You work hard, you make money. You exercise and eat right, you stay fit and healthy. The golden rule or law of attraction, even the idea of karma, tells us that we what we put out into the world, we will get back. I agree, but believe the understanding of this comes naturally, but we must take judgment out of the equation. Unfortunately, the basic idea of reaping what we sow can and has been corrupted by an ugly, harsh, cruel extreme that says if you get some disease, you must have brought it on yourself. It says that when your life falls apart, that somehow you deserve it. Bullshit. Life happens. There is an entire universe out there that is churning and evolving and shifting. We are part of this cosmic macrocosm. We shift with it. Our lives can be toppled. We can have loss, upheaval, and pain. It is not because we deserve it. It is life shifting, energy changing. Accepting that and shifting with it allows you to flow. Letting go of self-judgment as we encounter pain or challenge allows you to shift more easily, to flow seamlessly through the most devastating circumstances. Flow with the pain, accept it and feel it, grow from it, knowing that it won't continue forever. Life and its circumstances will continue to shift until you find yourself in a whole new circuit, this time one of pleasure and gifts and joy. But accepting the challenging shifts and writing it out with openness and calm and free of self-blame brings in the flow of the next beautiful chapter more smoothly and easily. The unmatched bliss that enters as you evolve out of the pain can have you floating on air. The discovery of knowing that you can be vulnerable, you can feel heartache and crushed, but you can survive it and learn to thrive through it is liberating. When I began doing interior design work, I bought a really special toolbox that I loved. I collected tools in it that were just right for me and for the kind of projects and tasks I encountered. I got a bright pink hammer, a flowery 4-way screwdriver, and a set of purple needle nose, and a good old black and silver channel locks, just to name a few. Each tool worked for a specific task. Each one was just right for my use, as I always had them handy for any job that came up. Now I have created a figurative toolbox for life. I have found tools that are just right for me when I face challenges or fear. The first and easiest tool to use is breathing. When I feel anxiety, hurt, sadness, or fear, I remember to breathe. Breathe deeply and fully. At least 3 deep breaths, but 12 is even better. This gives me pause, which tends to bring in clarity. It is amazing how easy it is to forget this simple tool, but after so much practice, after so many challenges, now remembering to breathe comes naturally to me. Everything stops for a moment. Overthinking, overanalyzing, stress, it all halts with breath. Breath is life, is divine, is clarity, is peace. A tool that works in tandem with breathing is consciously staying present Sorry, let me start that sentence over. A tool that works in tandem with breathing is consciously staying present in the moment. Breathing is the conduit to the present, the now. Focusing on this very moment. What is happening? Not what are you worried about, but what is. Focused on your breath, you can eliminate the clutter in your mind. Staying right here in this moment will take away all worry and drama and melt it away instantly. Meditation is another valuable tool. Taking the time each day, once or twice a day, to be still, quiet, and let go of all else brings in peace, regardless of the circumstances. It also connects me with the divine, with the unseen, with my higher self, to my own heart. It reminds me that there is so much more than that which is physical and three-dimensional. Some of my other tools are spending time in nature, music and dancing, writing, talking to my sisters, hugging my kids, etc., etc. My toolbox is pretty full. We each have to find the tools that work best for us and practice using them and remind ourselves that they are at our fingertips. Problems and challenges are not personal. Life is not out to get you. It is not your fault. It is not my fault that shit hits the fan. Letting go of the fundamentalist ideology that if it's good, it must come from God, and if it's bad, it must come from the devil, is outmoded for me. Life is not an experience in punishment and reward. This old thinking produces in us the constant downing of ourselves, forever thinking we need to do better, we need to try harder, we need to be perfect. We are perfect. Yes, we can learn and grow and evolve, and that is beautiful. But through every step of the way, in my opinion, we are being beautiful and good. The sooner humans believe in the beauty and love and goodness that is innate in them, the sooner this earth will be filled with peace. So that's kind of, it's interesting reading because, yeah, I finished writing, those last chapters a few years ago. And so much has evolved even since then. The biggest thing I can say is the only thing that I 100% believe in is love. And I 100% believe that we all are, come from love. And the thing that's more important than knowing that is the fact that nobody has to agree with me, and I don't need to convince anybody. But it's a point of view that I've come to by just knowing myself purely. Because when you have to give up so much, when you kind of strip away so many things in your life, people and ideologies and things that you were born, you were learning and being indoctrinated with before you could even walk or talk. Stripping all that away allows to see the real you. And because I had that experience, it's given me the opportunity to really know who I am. And even though I've had to face so many challenges along the way, and I'm definitely not done with those. got plenty on deck right now. But that's okay, because life is beautiful, and it can be very, very ugly too. So what do we want to focus on? For me, I just want to focus on the love even when the challenges come, if you're demonstrating love, if you're being love, if you're being kind to yourself or you're being kind to somebody else, you know, kind of a foolproof plan for me. So I'm sure there are other things I could say about those chapters, but given that my next video will be my last one, I'll probably make a few notes to make sure I don't forget anything that I want to say before I close up the series. So thank you again, everybody, for being here. It is such a pleasure, and I hope you have a lovely day or night.